Dilloo Makrani's True Story by Akhtar Nasimi. Perhaps it was during 1954 to 1955 when one of my relatives sent a boy to me and said, "This boy's uncle was a peon at my office, but he has got a job in Muscat. He is going there. I am sending this boy to you. Keep him with you for some months. Then I shall make arrangements for him. He knows how to walk, work. You can see for yourself." He was almost 14 years old. He was Makrani. He had curly hair and was tall with a handsome face. His eyes were very bright and his hair was brown. I asked him what his name was. He replied, "Murad Dil." I asked, "Murad Dil or Dil Murad?" He answered, "Murad Dil." I asked, "What do people call you?" "Dilloo." I asked, "What kind of work can you do?" He replied with a feeling of great satisfaction, "I can do all tasks. I can clean the house. I can clean utensils." Then he looked around the house and said, "May I have a look around the house?" He looked around with confidence. He did not go into any room, looking at them from outside. He said, "I can clean all of this." Then he asked, "When will I be given a meal?" "It is time for my meal." I laughed loudly and said, "But it is not our meal time yet. It is still being prepared. When it is prepared, you will get your meal." "Well, I shall sit down." That day we were having fish. When he smelled fish, he shouted, "I will not eat fish. I will remain hungry, but I will not eat fish." I asked him, "Dilloo, why do you not like fish?" He said, "I am tired of eating fish. Back home, we get fish throughout the year. Sometimes the fish is fresh and sometimes the fish is dried." He ate the pulses, vegetables and bread. He ate them gladly and then cleaned the dishes. After cleaning them, he went out. I saw that he was running around with the boys of the mohalla trying to catch a snapped kite. We were laughing. He was a strange boy. Gradually, he had made good friends with my 7-year-old daughter, Tasneem. He called her Bibi and brought stranded kites for her and taught her how to fly a kite. Bibi was teaching him Alif Bepe, the Urdu alphabet. One day I said, "By now you must have learned a lot." He said with a lot of confidence, "I have learned everything." When I put my finger on Alif and asked what it was, he said, "A stick." "What? Has Bibi taught you this?" "No, she calls it something else. But Mullah ji had told me that if I had difficulty in learning it, I should call it a stick." Time went by. One day, our cook asked us for 1 month's leave. He had to go to his village to look after his sick mother. I thought that Dilloo might be of some help with the work. After breakfast the next morning, he insisted that he would clear the table and clean it. I put 2 cups of tea on a tray and asked him to take them to the kitchen. He took them. There was the sound of breaking china. I hurried into the kitchen and saw that both the cups were broken and the tray was lying on the floor. I asked him angrily, "What is this?" But as I was in a hurry, I locked the house and went to school, leaving everything as it was. I told Dilloo that we would return at 1:30. On our return, we found Dilloo at the gate. Dilloo said with pleasure that he had had his meal at the neighbor's house. I said, "That is very wrong. You should have waited." He replied, "But I was feeling hungry." I became quiet. Later, our neighbor laughingly said, "Please don't mind. I have told him to have lunch with us daily." How could we think ill of him since his lunchtime was 12:30 and we returned home at 1:30? After the experience of the first day, we forbade him from entering the kitchen. He only did the cleaning. Surprisingly, we had become accustomed to him. Sometimes he sang, sometimes he narrated tales. When he went out, he ran after kites. Sometimes he had a row with the boys. He used to bring the torn kites to Bibi and say with pride that he had caught them. He had become popular in our mohalla. When the neighborhood women went to the bazaar, they took him along. He used to play with the children. Although he did not make progress in learning to read or write, he had made a lot of progress in mathematics. He had learned to count from 1 to 10. However, he drew one stick for 1, two sticks for 2, and 10 sticks for 10. One day, his uncle returned and took him away. He wept bitterly but had to go. We made him promise that he would not eat fish and would not go to Mullaji. Bibi, the woman of the mohalla, and I all gave him gifts. I gave him clothes. His uncle said that he had grown up and so he should do some kind of work to bring some money home. After he had left, the mohalla became desolate. We missed him and remained sad for many days. Then, as is the case of the world, we forgot him. A long period passed. My daughter, Tasneem, became a doctor and began to work at the civil hospital. One day, when she was in the hospital ward, she saw a feeble patient lying on one of the beds. His hair was curly. His face looked familiar. He was also looking at her attentively. Tasneem looked at his history card. The name was Murad Dil. Tasneem asked him, "Are you Dilloo?" He screamed, "Bibi, Bibi, look how sick I have become. I have become sick because I ate fish." Tasneem comforted him. He was weeping. "Bibi, I called at your house but you were not there. We had changed our house and then I went to Makran again." Tasneem comforted him that he would be alright, but his medical history stated that there was no chance of his survival and that he should be given anything he wanted to eat. There was no need for medicines or any restrictions. Tasneem had him discharged from hospital with the consultation of his doctor and brought him home with her. We took great care of him, of his food, and ensured he got enough rest. But on the fourth day, the servant told us in the morning that he had left, saying that he was not feeling well and was going to the hospital. Tasneem arrived at the hospital and saw him on a bed. His condition had worsened. He could not speak properly and died the same day. His relatives arrived. Tasneem asked them how much money they would need for his burial. They said 170 rupees, which he gave to them. We were all very sorry for his death. A few days later, our servant came to us in the evening, terrified, and told us that 15 or 20 Makranis had come and that they wanted to talk to Bibi. They were Dilloo's relatives, and they wanted to thank Dr. Tasneem for taking great care of him by taking him to her home and comforting him. Whenever we remember him, we remember how he jumped like a kangaroo, ran like a hare, and had no concern for wages. He remained happy and gay. He sang loudly. Tasneem told us that his liver had been destroyed and his kidneys had failed. No one knows how he reached such a state. He was barely 30 years old. Now, Karachi has also changed. Now, no stranger can live in another's house in such an informal way. Now, every person is afraid of the other.